Hey everyone, it is great to be with you today on Read Through the Word. It is October the 27th, and we are given a word of caution today, and it's a little bit of a glimpse into what's going to happen towards the end of time, the end of the age, before Jesus comes back. He hasn't even left yet, and he's going ahead and warning them about the things that are going to happen before he comes back. So he's given them really a big picture of what is going to happen to him. He's leaving in these next few chapters, in these few days, as we approach the crucifixion. He's going to have some in-depth conversation with the disciples and giving them a lot of valuable information and edification and encouragement. But he's also in this time where he's speaking to them, giving them information about the latter days. This is what's going to happen. And so I think it's really important that if he's warning the disciples, that we should be paying attention to this as well, because these things haven't happened yet, because God's people are still here. And he hasn't come back. There's a lot of speculation, and we'll talk more about this when we get into Revelation, about whether, we're pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib, whatever. And we'll unpack all of that when we get into the book of Revelation, as much as I can speak to it. But and I'm not sure if it's this day's reading, as I've been preparing several days in a row. One of the Gospels talks about it as birth pains, the beginning of birth pains. And those of you who have had children before know what that's like. It's kind of like the Braxton Hicks, like they're really not labor pains, they're pre-labor pains. So they hurt, but they are not nearly as painful as the ones that come when the baby's trying to make its way into the world. But those pains, as you know, if you've had a child or witnessed someone having a child, whether it be on TV or had the opportunity to be in a birthing room with someone, those pains get stronger and stronger. They get more and more evident that the end of that pregnancy is about to happen. And that's the same thing that you see here, is in reference to these latter days, is these birth pains are going to get stronger, or these signs are going to get stronger. They're going to get more obvious. They're going to get more painful. And all of that is to get our attention, and for us to be prepared when Jesus comes back, for us to be ready. For us, those of us that are ready, for us to warn others, he's coming back, and he's coming back for his children. Are you one of his children? So I think it's really important when that we look at words like watch out. There's an exclamation point here in Mark 13:23. There's two. Watch out, I have warned you about this ahead of time. And how gracious of God, through Jesus the Son, to not only sacrifice his Son for our salvation, but to give forewarning of what's to come after his Son is already back in heaven. It was almost like the prophets of the Old Testament that God sent them to give this warning ahead of time. You're going into captivity. You have been a disappointment to me, and you have disobeyed me, fallen way off the center line of where you need to be. So I'm going to have to discipline you, and this is what's going to happen. Only a good father, a loving father, does that, warns of what's coming. He shows and demonstrates his love by what's coming, warning them about what's coming. So here's some things that he says. First off, I think this is in your notes, the NIV and the NASB. I thought these were too interesting. So be on guard, but take heed. So we've got watch out, be on guard, and take heed. These are some strong language. This is strong language for us to pay attention to. And he says that we need to be careful. We need to watch out, be on guard, and take heed not to be misled by counterfeiters. There are going to be, Scripture says, many who will deceive. And this isn't necessarily speaking of the Antichrist at this point, but Satan certainly has his own group of warriors and those that are anti-Jesus, maybe not the Antichrist, but those among us are anti-Jesus. That group is getting, if you haven't noticed already, is getting larger and larger and louder and louder. Once upon a time, the majority of our country was Christian. And now, I think if you asked, the majority of the country would still say they were Christian. But they don't vote like it. And they don't live like it. And they don't attend church like it. And they don't read their Bibles like it. Read some of the Barna reports that ask questions of people that claim to be born-again Christians. How many times they read their Bible. If they've ever read their Bible. How many times they attend church. How many times they pray. Those kinds of things. So we are moving away from center of where we should be. And when we move off center from where we're supposed to be, we're going to be vulnerable to counterfeits. We're going to be vulnerable to those that preach and teach methods that are contrary to God's word. And these that mislead are not going to come right out right now and be anti everything that we believe. It's going to be incrementalism. It's going to be small things. It's going to be, surely it's okay for you to do this. God can't have a problem with this happening. This can't be something that bothers the Lord. And will find ways to justify their way of thinking. And because we are off center, we're going to be vulnerable to their teaching. We're going to be vulnerable to their suggestions. And we're going to be misled by these counterfeits and will very easily compromise what we believe. This is true. I know this is true because of what is on television now. Many years ago, TV, Lucy and Ricky never slept in the same bed. And I remember when, that's Lucy, the Ricardos. This is I Love Lucy show, just in case you don't know who that is. And I remember when the Brady Bunch came out and Carol and Mike slept in the same bed. Now, this is a married couple with children, and they're sleeping in the same bed. There's nothing wrong with that, but boy, was that risque to be sleeping in the same bed. Well, I don't need to tell you. You know what TV's like now. So little by little, we're already being led away, misled by counterfeits, because we're just accepting it. And Christians are accepting it into their homes. And I'm just as guilty as the next person. There are things that I watch that I know, oh gosh, I need to turn this because this is not something that I think the Lord would want me to watch. And then I'll watch it like this. So we have to be careful with that. Many are going to try to claim to be the Messiah and fool us and lead us astray. Don't be panicked when you hear about war. Nations are going to rise up against nations, and we're in the middle of that. And then don't be alarmed when you're mistreated. He's really warning the disciples. They're going to be beaten. They're going to be thrown in jail. They're going to be stand trial. But this is an opportunity, it says, for them to tell about me. So we may have that same course of action happen to us. We may not necessarily be beaten or arrested. Not saying it's not going to happen, but what we will do when there's opposition against what we believe, Jesus is saying it's an opportunity for you to tell them about me. So take advantage of those opportunities. And then lastly, don't be surprised when you see a wacko making us worship an image that tells you that they are the Messiah, right? And this is something that they're calling the abomination of desolation. This is someone who will stand on the temple steps and claim to be Messiah and tell you to worship him. Now, this will be the Antichrist. This will be the person that comes and says, I am the Messiah. I have returned. I've come back. And they're going to claim to be. And I go back to what I have said before. In order to know what's false, we have to know what's true. So we have to stay right straight center with God in his word and in prayer and through obedience to what he's calling us to do. And we stay right on the center line with him. And we'll be able to recognize those counterfeits. And we'll be able to not panic when war comes. We'll be able to trust God is in control of this. This is just the beginning of the end times. And when are they going to begin? When is Jesus coming back? Well, he's very clear in several places that no one knows, but I love Mark 13:10. He says, before the end comes, the good news must be told to all nations. So until the world, every nation, tribe, and tongue has the Bible translated or the gospel told to them, Jesus is not coming back until everyone has had the opportunity to hear the gospel. And it's coming, and it's coming quick. I had a friend that was showing me his phone the other day, and there's an actual app that will translate any Bible verse into any native tongue. And it just thrilled me because I said, oh my goodness, we have been so short-sighted to think that the Bible is going to be translated in every tribe and tongues to every nation. What if God is going to do it through the phone and through an app? Because the Bible is persecuted, it's burned, and people are killed by this. But an app that translates, he's so smart. He will make sure that every nation hears his gospel before he comes back. But until then, we need to watch out and heed these warnings that he's told us ahead of time. We'll see you tomorrow on Read Through the Word.